Hello, my name is Brian. Today I'm going to be giving you a tour of Marina, my 1966 Volkswagen Type 3 Squareback. This car, I've had it for about 5 years now and just really completed it in April of 2025. And it's been a very fun restoration. I bought it as a rolling chassis. It did have a Volkswagen motor, which I have since replaced with electric motor, and I'll get into that in a minute. But really the paint had been done, the body work had been done, the tub had been fixed and powder coated, the suspension was complete, has four-wheel disc brakes, but all of the trim, including glass, chrome, and all of the interior were not complete. Also the wiring was incomplete as well, so it was just enough to start the car and move it around, but there were no lights, no dash, none of those things were in place. It was just metal in the inside of the car. So I put together a plan to restore the car, but along the way, I also wanted to make it an electric vehicle. That was something I'd always wanted to build, and this is a perfect platform for that because there are kits from EV West that kind of adapt to these chassis pretty well. So I used their recipe to kind of get me started, and then I designed the rest of the car based upon my own needs and requirements. The nice thing about using a Volkswagen, especially these air-cooled Volkswagens for electric conversion, is you don't have to deal with things like power steering, power brakes, or other things that require accessories that are a little harder to set up with a electric conversion. So this one worked out well. And yes, I am a fan of Volkswagen engines, but I think the Squareback, specifically this car, does great as an electric vehicle because you have the look and the luxury that Volkswagen intended when this car was developed and marketed, but you also have the simplicity and the smoothness and the quietness and the power that, you know, a luxury car would have, even if it was from the 60s. So I think this is a great platform for doing the conversion, and it's definitely been a lot of fun. So let me give you a little tour on the inside. One of the design goals for this car was to try to make it as period correct as possible, but still have a little bit of luxury that was intended when the car was designed. So the original color was actually a light white kind of color, kind of a off-white. So I put a little bit of that in there, but I really wanted to give it more of a luxury feel with some warmer colors. So I added the tan, and I actually found a 1960s wallpaper that had a lot of these colors. And I have some of that actually. I'll show you in a little bit how I integrated that into the car. But you can see it came out really nice. I found a lot of the pieces I had to source, including the armrests, which are not in great shape and they don't make reproductions anymore. But everything's nice and smooth in here. And here you'll see down where the radio is, kind of where the first indication that this is not just a regular air-cooled Volkswagen. And then also down the pedal, we can see the Prius throttle pedal as well. But the gauges and everything all work. The clock is now running off of a battery, quartz battery, so it's always in time. And even the fuel gauge shows the power. So wiring, even though it is electric conversion, I tried to keep all the original wiring. So the original car Volkswagen harness and the fuse box are all in place. I have a few extra switches there because I'm still sorting out the horn and some things like windshield wipers, but everything else is in place. So looking back into the headliner, if you notice, this particular car on the outside has a sunroof, but on the inside does not. And the reason for that is that the parts to make the sunroof work are mostly are plastic and really hard to get if you can find them at all, and they're all very fragile. So I have some of the parts, but rather than trying to source those and build a sunroof that wasn't actually going to be functional, I decided to seal it up and then save that part for another day. So we can see here the interior. It's nice and laid out. It's a very roomy car, easy to use. Can haul groceries, can haul people. It's very nice, nicely set up. Coming around to the back of the car, we can see a little more indication of this is not quite a normal Squareback, because we do have this big box in the back, and that is actually where I have the batteries. So now I want to get into a little bit more of how the electric inversion is done. So this car is built using, like I said, the pattern from EV West, using the net gain Hyper 9 system, and I mostly use that recipe or that combination of equipment, but I did some modifications to it to make it work for my particular car. So I did work with a company in Santa Rosa, California called Thunderstruck Motors. I do have their battery management system and the charger, and they helped me a lot with how to get the batteries working for that. So now let's kind of get inside and kind of see how that's wired up. Okay, now I'm going to get a little bit more into how the EV system in this car is built. So the battery system is made up of 5 Tesla Model S battery modules, and I have 3 up here in the front. I'll show you that. So we have 3 in the front, and then we have 2 in the rear, and they're all set up in series. So each one is about 25 volts, so about 125 volts on full charge for the 5 modules. So we have up here in the front, we have part of our battery management system. We have the high voltage lines and the power cutoff, and then these high voltage lines here, and then we have these high voltage lines run to the back of the car to tie into the 2 rear modules, and then tie into the electrical contactor section in the middle of the car. But if you notice, I try to do everything I can to not create any additional holes or anything like that in the car. The plan here is to be able to convert the car back to gas if anyone ever wanted to. So I built these battery mounting brackets here that tie into the original fuel tank mounts, and then everything fits nice and snug up here in the front, so it all looks kind of normal. Then I don't think we can be able to see it from here, but the high voltage lines go through the transmission tunnel towards the back of the car. So we go to the back now. I'll kind of show you where the modules back here are. You can see they're under this big box, which is, I wanted to try to hide this a little bit better, but there's just really is no more space to put things underneath the car, because I have a lot of things under there too. So if you look here, kind of pull this down, here's 2 modules, and then I have the crossovers and the speaker boxes for the rear sound, and then a voltage meter for the 12 volt system, and then a charging guide here. So the other thing I did was I used a Tesla NACS charging port. So this can plug into, I've got a Tesla charger at my house, so I can plug into that, and then it could also plug into public chargers as well. If we look under the car, we'll see the rest of the stuff that's there. So we can get under here, and we can show you there's the electric motor, and there's the power inverter, which converts the 12 or the 125 volt DC to AC to run the motor. And then a little bit further up ahead, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a charger, and then there's also a DC to DC inverter, which steps down 120 volts down to 12 volts to run the rest of the car. On top of the motor, we have, it's kind of hard to see from this angle, let's go from this side. On the top of the engine, our motor, we have a cooling system to just kind of run some basically antifreeze through the cooling plate to keep to dissipate heat a little bit better. But everything else underneath this is a regular 4-speed transmission using the swing axles that came on the 66, and you can see the charger at the top there. Coming into the car now, we can kind of see the rest of the wiring for it. I tried to keep everything as hidden and out of the way as possible, and so you lift up the rear seat and we can see all the main electronics. So on the left side here, I'll put a picture up, but this has all the contactors. So the high voltage contactors that connect the high voltage system together, also disconnect it when it's being charged or when the engine is off. And then on this side, we have the kind of middle 12 volt system. So this system also controls the audio the audio system, which have an amp and also have heated seats, and then it basically ties and provides 12 volts to the primary Volkswagen electric system. So actually it has two 12-volt systems, one the original Volkswagen, then this one here that kind of runs all the stuff in the middle, and then the high voltage system. And here I have effectively just a lithium motorcycle battery that kind of provides all the 12 volts for it, and then this relay system that connects everything else together. The main chassis harness is tied in as well to one of these circuits, and it's just effectively feeding into the 12 volt system where the regulator would have been in original the stock configuration. So the nice thing about having this relay system here is that I can isolate things. I can power on only the high voltage system. I could power on only the chassis system, or only the audio system. I have the ability to turn these on and off with these switches. And here we see we have a spider also living under here. I need to get that cleaned up apparently. But the rest of the car is normal, and I can actually fold down the seat and make it into full load zone. So the car is fully functional, just like it would have been with the seat folded up. We can see a few more things that I've added to the car. So under this seat here on the driver's seat, I have a small kicker subwoofer just to give a little bit of bass. And then on this side, there's a fire extinguisher, but underneath the floor there, I have a fake floor. That's where the amp is, and it's a Bluetooth 4-channel amplifier that runs the main speakers as well as gives a signal to the subwoofer. This system is then actually controlled by a module here in the floor and the console that I created that allows me to have Bluetooth and audio controls, as well as USB charging ports, again, all without affecting anything that's going on in the dash. So let's kind of look at that here for a second. So you see here I have the car running. Actually, I put it in park. So the car is running. We can the power is on. If I turn it off, I can turn it back on. And let's turn it off. So the other thing I added, this can pull this piece off here. It's held on with magnets. And this is the control panel for the battery system. So we can see here that it shows that I'm at 123 volts, not using any power. Each battery cell is 4.086 volts. And I can click on this and it can show me the overall battery health. So I can see effectively these are 5 modules, each with 6 batteries in them. And so that's kind of what the thing you can see here. I click on that as I'm driving. I can see that it's what my voltage is and what my range is. This also does show into my fuel gauge. So if I turn the car off, fuel gauge drops. I turn it on, my battery's fully charged, so it jumps up to the top there. So this all tied in together. So I don't actually have to be using the screen. I can know what my battery charge is. Now driving the car is pretty straightforward. You do basically leave it in second gear. I can shift to second and third. All the gears work, but changing the direction of the motor, it's pretty straightforward. You just kind of use this lever here and go from park, reverse, drive, and then regenerative braking. These are actually the same nomenclature that they use on the Volkswagen ID.4 electric vehicle, so I use that same thing here. So this is kind of was an interesting build because the original radio here, the Blaupunkt, doesn't work, but I put some LEDs in it to make it look like it works, and you can turn the dial and everything. The buttons here, they actually have LEDs embedded in resin. And then the selector switch, this is actually a selector switch out of a electric guitar. So it changes the frets, but I use it here and adapted the wiring. So this is telling the computer which direction to do the rotation or how to do the regenerative braking. But everything else about the interior, like I said, we have a Prius gas pedal down here. I added some Alpine component speakers in the front and rear, but everything else about the interior is just like you would expect in a 1966 Volkswagen. All right, now I'm going to take you for a little drive in Marina. It's really easy to drive. That's kind of my goal. I want it to be simple to get around, run errands, drive to work, do cars and coffee, those kind of things, car shows. So starting the car is pretty simple. You just turn the key, book. That's really all there is to it. You can see that all the systems come on here. So I'm in park, and like I said, I can change gears. Right now I'm in second gear, so I'm just going to start there. So I'm going to put it in park, or put it in drive. And here we go. Traffic. Okay, here we go. We have some speed bumps coming up here, so but like I said, it's nice and easy to get around in. There's really no noise, no drama. Won't hit any pedestrians. So I'm driving along here. Shift to third gear if I wanted to. And in fact, there's enough torque to actually drive the entire time in third gear, but keeping it in second gives me a little bit better acceleration. And I drive second gear till about 30 miles per hour, and then I can shift to third gear. But I can also, on the highway, I could go 70-75 miles an hour really comfortably, and fourth gear. So the electric motor does rev to, or to go to 8,000 RPM, so it gives me a lot of range if I need it. And this road does have a lot of speed bumps, and one of the challenges with doing electric conversions is you don't have any background noise, so you have to keep the suspension, has to be set up really nicely to keep it quiet, because otherwise all you hear is squeaks. So I'll take a left here. In this case, I'm going to shift down to second gear, and here we go. Now there are videos where people are doing burnouts and things and electric conversions, and I probably think that this car, if it had if I put it in first gear and really gave it full throttle, that would probably do a good burnout. But honestly, this car, when it was new, had like 60 horsepower, so I don't think that the axles and everything are really designed for doing burnouts, and so I don't want to have to replace them. And so we're not going to be doing. Really, the idea here is to have nice, comfortable, reliable, enjoyable drive. Kind of show off the coolness of the car while also taking advantage of the smoothness and reliability of the electric side. So. Go up here, but I got my blinker on. There we go. Take a left here. See, it is pretty quick when it wants to be. The speedometer is accurate, so like I said, I'm going about 30 miles an hour. And again, there's just really no drama to it. It's just like driving any other electric vehicle you would want to drive. Speed bumps and everything out here are amazing, so definitely puts everything to the test. But pull up to my house here. But that's it. So then we put it in park, pull the brake, turn it off, and that's all there is to it. So it's been fun building it. Definitely learned a lot with 3D modeling and 3D printing, because you can see all these parts were 3D printed. So if I need to do them again, I can. These parts were 3D printed down here where the radio is. And then a lot of the pieces that are designed to route cables and things like that were 3D printed. Also 3D modeled the battery trays in the front and rear to hold the battery boxes in place. But happy to share any notes. If anyone wants to reach out or put comments in, then we can compare what other people have done it and answer any questions. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.